You may wear the "Hello, my name is" name tags if you'd like, but I kind of have a feeling with these folks it's not necessary. Let me go ahead and introduce our panelists. Of course, over here on my far right is James Marster. Next, we have Michelle Trachtenberg. Nicholas Brendan. Don't look back. I'm sorry, Alyson Hannigan. Creator, Joss Whedon. Executive producer, Marti Noxon.
And baby.
Director of photography, Raymond Stella. And production designer, Carey, Meyer. Us were chatting before you came out about the musical episode. And so I thought that would be the first thing I would ask you about, Joss. What were the origins of that episode, and how did you know that you had a cast that was up for that?
Allie begged me and begged me. She said, when can I sing?
Nope.
It sort of started in a roundabout way with James, actually, who, when we were making Fool for Love, his episode, he mentioned that it was like being in rep, doing all these different parts when he was playing Spike in his many guises from the past, and that made me think about that we should start doing some play readings, which we do at my house sometimes with some of the cast. At the first play readings, everybody was so terrified that we got a little drunk. And
look what happened.
Yeah, we suddenly.
Hey, Marti, prove it, all right? Prove it.
Nothing I say could be that interesting. Anyway, not quite that drunk. No, not that. Oh, God. That's coming back to haunt me.
That's bad.
You know, comfortable enough to sit around the piano singing, those of us who never had. And that's when I started to realize how many great singers I had. James suddenly seemed to have his guitar all the time. At the drop of a hat, or actually even with no hat, he would play, and he's written amazing songs. Tony, of course, has been singing for years. That's what started. We all wanted to hear Tony sing.
And Joss didn't even know you could write songs at first.
Well,
you said you sucked.
I thought I was brilliant.
and then he would come out with like a song that would like lay waste to everyone, and it was like, I'm not crying, every time.
Drunk. And anyway, I always, you know, from the very first episode, I wanted to make a musical more than anything in the world, and finally I realized I had a cast who could handle it, and I actually had a couple months off. So. Like I said, it's a long story, but that's why. Because I realized I was going to get one opportunity, that I'd never make another show that would lend itself to that. I'd never have a cast that was this talented on so many levels. And there was stuff I didn't even know about yet. And about how good they could be and how hard they could work. They didn't know how hard they could work either. They're a little pissed. So I finally sat down and conquered the fact that I can't actually play the piano and wrote it. And then they all had to do it. Because I'm their boss.
Who surprised you the most? Who had the undiscovered musical talent that you discovered?
You know, I would have to say the biggest surprise for me was Emma. because Emma had never come to the house, and what a voice, and what a dancer, and plus I knew she was funny and all that stuff, but that was really just a shock. She's clearly.
Make no mistake, though, we were all terrified. Like from the actor's standpoint, we didn't know we could do that. You know, I mean, we were terrified. No, please, we don't really want to do that. We didn't sign up to be a musical actor in front of 6 million people. Hell.
Well, and not to mention that we got a little CD of Joss playing the piano and his wife Kai singing, and she has an incredible voice, and she was singing all the female parts. It's like, well, I can't do it like that. Just get Kai to do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like saying you show up, anybody, whatever your job is, your job the next day is juggling. Okay? You know, yeah.
I said not to give anything for season 7 away.
Well, that's the problem for the actors is what are you going to do with this year? Because you keep doing weirder stuff every time.
It's gonna dullness. We haven't explored it, but I think it's cool.
We're going to have to do everything backwards or something.
Nicholas, did you enjoy the singing and dancing?
Ah,
Would you like to?
Come on,
Would you like to
man.
do some for us?
I think Nick has a little number prepared for us.
to be honest with you, actually I do have something prepared.
All right. Very good.
No, in all honesty, it changed my life a little bit because I started acting when I was 25, so I didn't do any theater or any musical theater when I was growing up. Was an athlete, and then I was a bum for about 4 years, you know?
Waiter.
Which is a bum.
Yeah, okay.
Or, and if you're not, that's what people see you. Okay. You're a bum. And so when I went into this musical, I wasn't terrified. I had started acting because, I went into acting and I didn't know what I was doing, and I booked the show. So my thing was, when Josh said we're doing a musical, I'm like, all right, cool. I've got nothing to prove. I'm not a singer. I'm not a dancer. Whatever I do is better than what I haven't done, you know? And my wife, Tressa, it was funny when we were doing this episode, just sometimes when you got to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, that alarm goes off. It's a hard wake up, you know? It's like, Christian. And then you snooze for a while, and all of a sudden you're late for work, you know? So you take a fast shower.
That's just you, Nick.
But I fixed that.
Snoozes for 3 hours.
But with this episode, I just bounced out of bed, and it was, I love going to the studio and singing. I realized that really I wasn't a singer because I can sing for 2 hours, and then my voice went away, which is why we had 2 sessions. And then working on the dancing, and then having it all come together, I just had the best time of my life, and it was just a blast. So yeah, I had fun, a lot of fun.
Alyson? Huh? Would you like to sing?
Hey, lady.
You know, I constantly threatened laryngitis, and never wanted to be. No. So I have very, very little singing in the musical. But once I found out the magics of technology, wow, I would have been. Give me a solo, Joss.
We didn't use any of those things.
Right. Oh, yeah, sorry. I would have been a little more confident, I think, but yeah.
And how about you, Michelle?
Yes, that was my next question. Very good.
You were enthusiastic at first, as I recall.
Oh, woohoo was the first word that came to my head. Singing makes me very, very nervous, but it's all your fault. I love dancing, and that was my thing. I requested very little singing and a whole lot of dancing, and you actually choreographed. Joss did the whole thing. He showed me the